And we are live. The miracles of the internet. Hello, everyone. I'm Debra Eckerling. I'm the author of your Goal Guide and founder of the DEB Method. And this is the February Reset Goal Chat Live Party. Oh, I'm so excited. and this started in December. I did a Start 2021 Now party where I brought together friends from different parts of my world. And it was so much fun. I decided every month should be a celebration because I believe, and anybody who knows me knows this, goals are not just for the beginning of the year. They're a year-round process, so why not celebrate the importance of the beginning of the month? So there we go. And I think I said this in a message earlier, I'm going to restart this year as many times as humanly possible until we get it right. So as I mentioned before, I'm Debra Eckerling. I'm the host of the Goal Chat Twitter chat, and then we do live every Monday at 4 p.m. And my guests today, again, are from different aspects of my world. And I have Brian is probably my newest friend of the group, and we do Tuesday Night Zulas with Jeff Pulver and the Pulver International Passion-Based Networking Group. So Brian, thrilled that you can jump on in. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself better in a minute. And then we have Jennifer, who's like, I feel like you're like my long lost twin who's blonde. And I think we're like twin personalities.
Yes, positivity, goal getting, goal diggers, all of those things. And then some.
Yes. So Jen, who is amazingly awesome, and we just became friends last year, even though we had known each other for years. And then we have Jonathan Domsky, who I have known since high school. Do not share your age, John. I mean it. but I shared this story, I believe, last week and probably the week before because it is that awesome. But because of a friend that I met on the Tuesday night networking, I went to a Boston Internet Marketers meeting who I met someone, and we had two people in common, and one of them was John. So John, I'm absolutely thrilled that you're here because this is just the way life works, right?
It's exciting. And, I will not divulge my age, but I will tell you that my wife stopped aging at $39.99. She's been that now.
I understand. We understand.
And that is exactly how we do things. So John, let's start with you. Why don't you, other than the fact that, hey, here's John, my friend from high school, I bet you can introduce yourself better than that. So go right ahead.
Sure. My name is Jonathan Domsky. My business is Untitled Coaching. I coach entrepreneurial leaders. I use many of the same tools as a traditional business coach: goal setting, accountability, best practices, but my purpose in life is teaching personal mastery. I help you untangle the clutter in your business and personal life so that you have a business and life that are easy, meaningful, and joyous.
Well, you are going to get no disagreement from anybody here how important it is to have like the big picture, right? Okay, I'm going to swap you with Jen.
Hey everyone. So I'm Jennifer Watson. I am the social media manager at Agorapulse. You can see by my awesome microphone. But I'm also actually a meteorologist by trade. And I do two different shows with the Weather Channel. Weather Gone Viral is one. And we just finished shooting the second one, which I will be announcing the name of that in the coming weeks this past month. So it's actually been an exciting start to 2021 for me personally. But, on a greater scheme of things, it has been difficult, especially if you live in the US. But I think things are on a better trend, but I'm all about positivity, mindset, and visualization. That's something that I really focus on and try to encourage people to do because it's so easy to just get in a rut and get yourself down. But any moment of any day, you can switch your mind and your thought process into something positive and literally re-engineer your thinking and make that day an amazing day. You can turn any day around and you can set any goals at any moment. You don't have to wait even for the first of the month or the first of the year. You can do it like anytime you want to. So don't wait, just do it and get it done.
And again, I'm reiterating, I feel like we're like twins-ish.
I agree. I definitely agree. We're both like motivators and inspirational people, so I love it.
Okay, and now we have Brian, and Brian, please introduce yourself as well. Oh, your mic is mad at me.
That better?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Brian Brady. I am the studio operations manager at People Interactive, which is the game design and development studio at Southern New Hampshire University. And so I work with our college student uh, game developers of the future, and we put together and develop interactive applications and games for clients both internally and externally. And we're kind of developing ideas and concepts that can be used in a lot of different applications. We've done work for hospitals, we've done work for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, we've done work for the Veterans Administration. And so we're constantly thinking about ways of stretching and challenging our skill set and trying to come up with better ways of using technology to improve people's lives. Now, I always introduce myself as the game enthusiast because I love games. So I have a dream job as far as my day job. But for the longest time, I've studied and tried to learn about behavioral economics, game theory, game mechanics. I'm always trying to figure out decision making, understanding heuristics, even things that are really kind of interesting and unique when it comes to thinking and making decisions in order to be able to better understand human psychology and our lives. And so this kind of plays very well for me. So it's always exciting to be a part of this and thinking about, how do we utilize these things for our future?
It's amazing, and part of why I wanted to have you on is because we've met at these meetings, but we've never had like a one-on-one conversation. So I kind of tricked you into having a one-on-one conversation and then let other people listen.
No, this is great. Thank you.
The other reason, and this is really how you came to mind, is I'm like, reset button, games, Brian. I have to have Brian. So have you done a reset on your life at any point?
I feel like I do that a lot. So one of the things is I tend to feel like I collect a lot of information. So I'm the guy who still subscribes to 15 different magazines, from Vanity Fair to The Hollywood Reporter to The Economist, and I'm reading articles all the time. What happens when you do that and you find that anything that's interesting, unique, like today's news headlines talking about the short squeeze that's happening from Reddit and the guys sort of investing in GameStop, right? So it's right up my alley, but I find that information fascinating. So I'll spend a lot of time just collecting data, collecting information, reading, and trying to gather up as much as I can in order to. I have this insatiable curiosity for this. So I have to reset regularly, or I end up feeling overwhelmed because of clutter. And I don't let it stress me out. It's not like this thing where I walk into a room and I see piles and piles of things, and it causes me a great deal of stress. But every once in a while, I need to sort of take a deep breath and say, I've done what I've done with this information and it's time to let it go. So I have to fill up the recycling bin and put the information out into the world so I can take it to the next level.
I really great description about the importance, and it's true. There's information everywhere, and where do you keep everything? So yeah.
Well, once you hit a certain point, you realize that your brain can't hold it all. It's not like an endless cup. You have to share what you know, push things out so that your creative mind can work. If you clear your deck a lot of regular sessions, it opens up the opportunity for you to find those patterns, right? So if there's an article where they're talking about something really interesting in The Economist and it matches to something that you read in GQ magazine, you can see that pattern and connect the dots. But if you just find yourself consuming data and consuming information without taking the time to do that, you can miss things. And I'm not saying that you will catch everything, but your creative mind is what puts those things together. And if you overwhelm it, it kind of pushes those things into an area where it just becomes information and it It doesn't give you the opportunity to see the music beyond the noise.
I love that. And those who are reading my book know that I'm all about taking things out of your head and putting it onto the page, because we don't have filing cabinets in our head, or if we do, it's in an animated movie, and that's a different kind of conversation. But when we throw everything out there, you can also connect the dots a lot better. So awesome, thrilled. Jen, I'm gonna swap you in, because I know that you hit the reset button a lot of times, and it sounds like you're doing like a mini reset, because I've seen you like teasing something new is coming, which is awesome. So why don't you share your favorite reset?
Oh, a favorite reset ever in my life, or just recently?
Up to you. Dealer's choice.
You know what? I don't know if it's, I feel like everything's fluid. I tend to not wait so long for things to get to a certain point to change. I'm always constantly changing. And I guess kind of that's where like my love for weather and social media is, because there's nothing constant in weather. It's always changing. The atmosphere is fluid. Same thing with social media, right? The only constant is change, but not just in those, careers, but like with everything in life. So, pressing the reset button, I mean, it can happen to you, on a daily basis if you just had a rough morning and you pressed reset, or, I mean, it can happen some point during the year. For me, I don't know if I've had like a significant reset that was just like, wow, this is awesome. But I think when I, moving jobs, when I first came to Atlanta and started working at the Weather Channel, that was awesome. I don't know if I'd necessarily say that's a reset, but it was a change in my life and what was going on. But I always try to stream in that positive lane. And if something's not working, I tweak it. I do little tweaks as I'm driving, like even just thinking of, life as a car. I keep up the maintenance of my car, of my dreams, of my career. So there's not just like some massive breakdown and I don't know what's going to happen. And I think that may be my advice for everyone. Do tweaks, trust your gut, but, keep your goals in vision, and even have like a vision board or a dream board and be working toward those every single day. And, this is February 1st, right? A reset for the year. A lot of people set goals for like 12 months or 18 months. If you haven't done so already, there's always time to be like, where do you want to be in 5 years, 2 years, by the end of this year? How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to share your superpower with the world? And so, take it, I would say, every evening or at least once a week, look at, okay, what did you accomplish this week? Did you do all the tasks that you wanted to? I do it on a daily basis. I like prepping in the evening and going through things during the day, but you also want to make sure that you enjoy life and enjoy your family and friends. And I think I've realized that now more than ever this year, that I need to slow down a little bit more and make sure I maximize my time when I work, and then just cut it off, because I can work into the evening and the nights, and make sure I have time for my precious daughter and my family, because I realize like time is fleeting, and it's, you're never going to live in the same moment, forever. So you got to enjoy like your daughter when she's super tiny and adorable and still got the chunky thighs. And seeing my parents, you got to make time for that stuff. So I guess for me, it's never been like a huge moment. It's more consistency, constant resets, so I can make sure that I'm going in the right lane toward my dreams, toward my goals. I would say that that's it for me. I don't have any major resets of recent, but I have been working on, I have a couple side projects. So yes, my main job is social media, but I still do the weather. I have a weather podcast, and then I'm a co-host on it. And then I also do some stuff for the Weather Channel. So we did some fun things last month. So I'm excited to share that when I can.
Okay, well, we will be watching. And then the other thing is I will share in the recap the video that we did together on Mindset a few months ago, because that is also, it goes, I'm gonna quote him again, whether you think you can, you think you can't, you're right, because it's so true. And John, I did not forget about you, but I think you just hit the reset button big time like a year ago.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about the big reset in a minute. But first, I want to say I'm a huge believer in the power of ritual and routine. And every single quarter, I look at all the different aspects of my life and I ask myself, what is it that I've learned to accept in my life that I would have never consciously chosen? And what do I want to do about it? So each quarter, each year, I make goals. And if one of those things has been creeping in, I try to make a course correction before it gets too bad. Every year for the last 25 years, I spent between 1 and 4 months living with my family in China. My wife's Chinese. We have family and business interests there. And one of the nice things about being 11 hours away from where all of your other stuff is you can't do all of your regular routines. So it breaks them all. And I always have a reminder before I get back, what do I want to keep? What do I want to get rid of? So that's a nice reset each year. But as you mentioned, I had a big reset, a life-changing reset about a year ago, which is when I committed to becoming a full-time coach. Prior to that, my main business was Kidorable, fun, practical, unique children's accessories. And if you had asked me, Deb, any time during the last 25 years, am I passionate about my business? I would have told you yes. But if you had asked another question, does selling fun, practical, unique children's accessories make my heart sing? And the answer would be no. I liked it. I liked the administrative part. I liked becoming a good manager. I liked all that sort of stuff. But the part that made my heart sing, the part that made my eyes light up, was the 10 hours or so a week that I was in meetings. I love meetings because meetings is where we get to solve problems. Meetings are where we get to have accountability. Meetings are where we get to decide what gets done. Meetings are where I get to help people solve goals and become their best selves. And it was January 31st, almost exactly a year ago. It was a Friday afternoon, like any other. Took a walk by the lake. I live a few blocks from Lake Michigan, up to Northwestern University. And it felt like I was walking on an avalanche. The ground was shifting beneath my feet. And I just realized I was born to be a coach. I need to do this. And I felt at sea, but I talked to some friends. I came back. I told my wife that who's my partner in Kidorable, I need to leave the company and do this. She was on her own journey that she wanted to take more responsibility for the day-to-day in the company. So it was a good time for both of us. And for so many people, 2020 was a tough year with so much suffering and mayhem out in the world. But for me personally, it was the best year of my life. I'm living my dream job. We all ended the year happier, healthier, and wealthier than we started. And I have nothing but compassion for those many, many people who haven't. But 2020 was my reset year.
So I just looked at your website, Jonathan, and I have a 3-year-old. It was very dangerous for you to share that link, Deb, about Kidorable, because I am loving everything you have on there. Just saying that. Sorry for cutting you off, Deb.
Oh no, please. It was, and I put the link in too for that reason as well. Your life change is the exact reason that I wrote my book, even though we didn't reconnect until a few weeks ago. It's because so many people have that. They live their lives maybe they don't suck, they're not terrible, but they could be better, or there's something that they've always wanted to do, but people don't always take the time to go through and say, okay, this is my life. It's okay, it's good, it's fair, but I always wanted to do this. Now, how do I introduce this into my life? So whenever I hear a story of someone who said, okay, I hit the pause button because my life is good, but it wasn't making my heart sing, and you chose yourself in this journey. So I think that's, you get like all the gold stars, John. Amazing. And now, another question that I like to ask when I get my friends together is, and you alluded, we get a little bit of a peek into all of you, but what I want to know is, what is that story that something very few people know about you that really defines you? What is that little tidbit of information that you would love to share? Jen?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me. I
Yay!
don't know if it's a story or if it's just I love helping people. I love helping people reach their goals. And it's always been that way. When I was in high school, I got deemed a natural helper. And we went on this, like a whole bunch of us that got deemed natural helpers went on this little retreat, and we got like coached and kind of trained. And a natural helper was someone that in the school just helps people. It's a natural thing that they do. It just comes naturally to them. And so for me, it's just, I love people, seeing people succeed. I love pushing them. I love when people share their ideas with me, and I'm just like, you can do it. You can, do this, do that. And I have a unique ability, which, I've been told, where people just open up. They get like really deep down into, okay, the root of what do they want to do in their life. And we have, very real conversations. And for me, it's just that love of just seeing people shine. I want to bring more positivity to the world. I know that it can be really hard sometimes, no matter what situation you are in. Everyone has something, right? They're dealing with someone who's sick, or they're just exhausted from being a working parent or something else. There's always something going on. But what I love to do is keep people on a path toward their goals, toward positivity, and to help them understand the way their mind works, and that they don't have to live with that mindset, right? Because you are what you think, just like you said, Deb. And so that positivity and training your mind, because your brain is a muscle, training your mind to think more positive thoughts rather than whatever thoughts you're thinking is just going to help you reach your goals. And so I love helping people understand that and being their motivation and helping them along the way.
Amazing. Awesome. Again, why we are friends. Brian, your turn.
So it's really fascinating to hear these stories. And I think about the type of work that Jennifer, you, and Jonathan do. You work with other people and you provide them with support, advice, coaching. And, I think back to when I was a younger person, and I was always trying to figure out exactly what the fit would be for me, right? You try to create this image of where you're supposed to fit in. And sometimes it's the dutiful worker, right? You're going to go to work, you're going to get up early, you're going to be the first one in the office, you're going to work hard. And then eventually someone will recognize your talent and give you a promotion. And that job, you'll work hard, you'll get in the office early, you'll stay late, and then you'll get recognized again, and someone will give you a promotion. And eventually you'll find yourself at the top of your imaginary pyramid, where you'll then look across this vast, and you'll be like, I did it. I made it to the top of the mountain. But life is never really like that, right? It zigs, it zags, it gives you all these different, it's more like a game of chutes and ladders, right? You think you're like moving towards the top, and then an event that you have zero control over slides you all the way back to the bottom, right? You have all the things working for you, and then all of a sudden the company that you're working for gets acquired by a larger company, and they have no need for you. So all of those things can happen in somebody's career and life. And so for me, I looked at my life and I said, you know what do I like? What do I enjoy? I enjoy watching movies. I enjoy reading. I enjoy playing games. Well, anybody who's grown up with parents who are from a particular sort of background, you can't even imagine going and saying, Dad, Mom, I want to go into an industry where I get to play games, or I want to go into I get a job where I get to watch movies or watch television because that's what I enjoy. They're going to look at you as if you had two heads. And so it's so important for you to say, how do I want to define that life? And you don't have to look far out, right? 5 years is actually a good number of years to look out. And you can sort of say, well, what does my ideal day look like? And for some people, it's sitting at a desk and like having all their papers in piles, and just that gives them energy. And they look at that and they're like, man, that is perfect for me. For other people, it's not having a desk at all. If they have any sort of tech, they throw it in a backpack. It could be a camera or a computer or even just a phone, and they hit the road. They want to be out and about. For some people, it's being in crowds. For some people, it's being alone. And when you start thinking about what gives you energy and what you like, you can then create that world for you and make it work. And if you find those balances, yes, it does make your heart sing. And you don't have to give up the things that you are doing, right? It doesn't have to be one or the other. You might sit there and say, look, I'm going to work hard, go to work in the morning or go to school, but I'm going to always take some time out to find that ideal experience for myself, because if I could do that, then I will find joy in each day of my life, and I'll be able to continue to drive towards that. And if you're like Jonathan, where you find a way to make it work for you and it becomes something that makes your heart sing, then it works. You hit it, right? And sometimes it takes people a good part of their life to get there. But I'm in New Hampshire. I know you're in Los Angeles. Jennifer's in Atlanta, and Jonathan is
Chicago.
You're in Chicago. Okay. So when I think of New Hampshire, I think of Robert Frost. I mean, he started his poetry career, his writing career, as an older gentleman in the 50s. And so, that happens a lot. And that's something that you can take a lot of lessons from. And so it's always important to think about these things on a broad, vast life. Like, plan to live to 100 or more, right? And then figure out how you're going to fill up every day with the things that you want to do. And make certain that you give yourself the opportunity and the permission to do that. And I think that's so important for me, as well as for everybody.
I love that.
And the permission, I think that's really the key word. People do not give themselves permission to explore and enjoy. And if you're watching, we're giving you permission. You don't need to give it to yourself. You've got 4 people, and you should be giving the permission to yourself, because you do deserve to explore, play, have fun. Jonathan, I'm sorry. It's like you're going to call me Daddy, and I'm going to deserve it because I keep calling you John.
So I used to think that the 2 biggest choices that we make in our lives are who we marry and what we choose as a career, and add in the hand that we've been dealt, who our parents are, where we're born, our natural abilities, and the course of our life is set. But I've come to understand that as important as those decisions are, that they're not nearly as important as what happens after those decisions have been made. Deb, if you had asked me this question a year ago, what's the most important decision I ever made in my life? Without hesitation, I would have said buying a one-way ticket to China the week after I graduated from high school. I won't tell you the year because I don't want to divulge any state secrets, but
because I remember when you left.
The week after I graduated from high school, getting engaged 7 months later, and how that led to a life of entrepreneurship that's shaped who I am today. But the most important decision that I ever made in my life happened about a decade ago, when I chose to believe that life is a curriculum perfectly designed for me to work out my purpose, and to look at everything that happens in my life and ask, what is it that I need to learn? Who is it that I need to be? And what is the action that I need to take? My best stories are no longer youthful adventures. It's about how I engage with the everyday stuff of life for the last decade.
Wow, amazing. The other way that I describe you, John, is I think I can count in on one hand how many weddings I went to in my 20s, and yours was one of them. And I remember it so vividly in what a beautiful experience it was in your family home.
Yeah.
So we're talking about now and the future, and you just brought me back a certain number of years. So anyway, it's also in one of the other reasons I wanted to have you on is it's like the blessing of now. I think most of the 4 of us, I think we can all agree, is we did not have a bad 2020. Can we form a consensus on it?
Yeah.
And one of the beauties of it was these reconnections. I mean, I had friends all around the world before, but now I have friends all around the world who I speak to regularly, who I can form deeper connections and conversations and relationships with, which is amazing. And like I said, 2 people in common, and John was one of them. I mean, if that's not the universe saying, go back at least a little bit to your roots, I don't know what is. So, I really, all the gold stars, John, for pursuing this and having the life that you want. Okay, I'm gonna stop being gushy. I want to know what we're talking about the future. So, what does the end of 2021 look like for all of you in your visualization power of attraction world?
I love that. I guess I'll go first.
I guess you will.
For me, I have some side projects going on, probably about 2 or 3. I actually have so many ideas that I want to do that part of my problem is focusing on one and doing that well, and understanding that other things will come along as I go. But by the end of the year, I will have 2 of those big things in place. And so one of them is I have a weather themed clothing line for kids and also for adults that I kind of sunset that I have like with my twin sister, since we both love weather. I'm actually a meteorologist, but she's a storm chaser with me. We noticed they're just, there wasn't many weather clothes. So we started our own Twister Twins clothing line, but I'm working right now on revamping that and getting that going. But along with a couple other projects that I can't actually say what they are right now, but like I'm excited for the end of the year for so many of those things to come in line and just be a part of what I'm already doing right now at Agora Pulse as well, and bringing Agora Pulse into literally the top social media management tool that there is. So, yeah.
Yes, and one of the things that I think is amazing about Agora Pulse in what you do with them, which is of course we know each other from social media circles, but it was kind of, I had somebody drop out due to illness at the last minute, and I just wrote to Mike, who's good for mindset? How about Jennifer? And he's like, oh my goodness, perfect. So now we talk about certain alignments. So at the end of the year, you want to have 2 big things in place. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do in February? What is the February goal that goes along with that?
So I have several meetings lined up with different. I'm kind of in a mastermind, so I have some mentors set up meetings with, as well as with development planning and also legal when it comes to the LLC. Trying to get all of that in place and understanding what exactly I need to do. So basically, the framework is the goal for February. Understanding where I'm at, what I need to do to reach the goals that I want to do by the end of the year. So it's more of meetings, getting down to the nitty gritty, and then the real fun starts.
Well, yes, because we all know that you need to know that you need the foundation in order to soar. So I've got your goals down, so
I love it.
You towards the end of the year. Okay, gentlemen, which one of you wants to chime in next? You know what I'm going to ask you.
I'll go. So I'm always thinking about life as an experiment, and this is a really important thing for me. So, I never really think of a project as this sort of concrete sort of beginning, middle, end. It's always like, okay, let's try to go through cycles. So the first cycle might be an idea phase. The second cycle might be prototyping. Third cycle might be sort of a small launch, and then you can expand from there. And I don't think anybody should kind of lock into any particular sort of like swim lane. If they're interested in something that's a little bit off the beaten path, they could play around with it. If you look at it as an experiment, it sort of like reduces the psychological risk. And so what I like to think about for myself over the next, month or so is how to organize those kind of things, put them down on paper, and then really improve correspondence. One of the things that I kind of think about over the last 10, 15 years of my life career is I've gotten sort of committed to using like email and text and, just this electronic correspondence. And I'm a real big fan of like really good stationery, really good pens. And I want to start writing people handwritten notes and letters and really try to bring sort of the craft of that back into my life. So, um, thinking about those types of things, I want to be able to reconnect with some people that I haven't reached out to in a long time, and maybe utilizing that as a way to do so.
Okay, so the end of the year, I like your cycles methodology. I love the handwritten element because there is a lot lost in it. And as someone who like I don't go anywhere in a room where I live without like my notebook and pen because you never know what's gonna fall out of my head and needs to be written down. So definitely lost art. Is there some sort of pinnacle goal you want to achieve by the end of the year?
I haven't really given it any deep thought. I guess I'm always kind of feeling like I'm behind the eight ball around organization. And so if I can figure out a way to really come to terms with that on my own personal level, I'll feel that that's an achievable goal. But the reality is I think that feels like my first step before setting goals out, because I really would love to put some goals down on paper. I have sort of the work that I do at the university, which is very important and it's very fulfilling for me. But, with a lot of side projects that are out there that are in various stages of development, I think I can pretty much improve and divine a lot more results from those if I actually put a little bit more time and effort into them. And so I really want to be able to do that as well.
I'm absolutely fascinated by your career, by the way. I think I've mentioned that to you before, but if you think of organization like a game, and then I don't know, whatever's at the end of that game is really, so maybe that might be a little bit of helpful. Has it always, you talked about this before, has it always been games? What was sparked that fascination?
So I've always had like an interest in games, but my career has been in technology infrastructure. So I spent 25 years working for internet service providers, internet infrastructure providers. I think about the internet in terms of their physical pipes. Like, I think about the fiber optic cable between the United States and Europe and the various different traffic patterns that allow for you to grab a website in Hong Kong, as opposed to thinking about it as just simply this magical thing, right? And so that's kind of where my background is. But games are really, it's something relatively new. But I've always had I think most people enjoy playing games, whether they're board games, crossword puzzles, doing simple things that they can sort of create this challenge. They might say, "Oh, I'm going to walk." They might say, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to give myself a pat on the back if I make it over to the tree, or if I make it to the end of this thing." When they're running, I think we do this in order to make life more interesting. So gamifying any aspect, I think, is really important. So I like the idea of like thinking about what's my challenge. If I feel like I'm disorganized or I can improve on my organization, how do I gamify that, right? How do I then say, what's my prize? What level do I want to get? Can I get to the boss level of organization where I can feel like in charge and I have a clear understanding of how my calendar is going to look for the next 90 days and not have the sheer panic every morning at like 6 a.m. going, do I have any meetings before 10 o'clock? Which I think a lot of people do. So I don't know. I have these things in my brain and they're sort of swimming around there without any sort of end game in mind, but I definitely feel that there is a value to some of those things, and I want to be able to make use of it. So,
okay, it sounds good, and I know you have my book, and it's like, look at the chapters after the DEB method, because I talk about tracking and to-do lists and organization, and you know where to find me if if you need the pom-poms. Go, Brian, you could do it.
I love it. Yeah, I appreciate that. And the fantastic thing about the book is it's really easy to consume in small pieces. And so I can absorb a chapter. I can go back to it if I want to jump ahead and take a look at things. It doesn't force me to simply read it like a novel. And one of the most people don't realize this, but talk about gamification. When I read the book, if I hear your voice in my head while I'm reading it instead of my own, it actually is a little bit of a motivator because it actually takes me out of, whatever sort of distractions that can come in and break the mold. And it gives me the opportunity to sort of feel, okay, I need to do this for Deb. So that's a good thing.
Thank you. And I'm rarely speechless, but I'm incredibly touched. I love that. Thank you, Brian. So, Jonathan, you're now in you had your transition year. So, is this the growth year?
So, after hearing Brian speak, I have a new goal for the year. I read about 30 to 50 books a year, and I'm going to start reading them all in your voice. That's my first goal. But before I was inspired by Brian, so my tribe is entrepreneurs who are committed to personal and professional growth, and we join organizations, we read all these books, attend all these programs, and we listen to a podcast like this one or something. We hear one good idea that's going to help us in our business, then it's worthwhile. But having a successful business is not the same as having a successful life. That technical knowledge, that know-how and how to grow your business, it's important, but it's not enough to have a fully satisfying life. And because of that, I am working this year by the end of the year to launch a group coaching program, an Untangled Coaching Life Mastery Program. It is the 16 most important frames and tools that I believe are necessary to create a life and business that are easy, meaningful, and joyous. As soon as we're able to travel and I'll be together again, we'll meet once a quarter for a full day to learn a chunk of the material, develop a positive and supportive learning community, and then we'll have weekly group coaching calls on Zoom to answer questions, share experience, and make sure you're actually using the material in your daily life and business so that it becomes permanently improves your life.
You said a lot of words, which is good. But I drilled it down to launch group mastery program this year.
Sure.
Good?
Yes.
Excellent. And the short-term goals is to read every book in my voice, including mine.
That will be inspiring, but in February, I do have a couple specific things that I'm working on. So last year I did one podcast, and the decade before, so this is my fourth this year, and I'm committed to continuing to do at least 3 or 4 podcasts, workshops on other people's platforms in order to get the word out, and so that we could do this. And on the content side, every month, the third Wednesday of every month, I have a free Zoom workshop. It's always on a new topic, and each month I introduce what will be one of these modules. So my February workshop is on how to find your why, your purpose, the union of what you're driven to do with where you meet the world and what the world needs, and take people through that process.
Excellent. Because, as I say, you can't get what you want unless you know what you want. And in order to do that, you do need to know what is behind it. You say find your why, I say determine your mission. It's all the same. When you have that drive, you're more likely to be successful because it's not just doing things. It's the purpose. So that's awesome and amazing. I wanted to throw out a fun question before we give people some bonus goals. So what is it? We're talking about all this work-life balance stuff. So what is the thing you do that is not working, that is fun and unique and cool? And Jonathan, go.
The best thing I get to do every day is play and teach and spend time with my almost 12-year-old son. With e-learning, he has something called partial enrollment. There's some things that we homeschool. There's something he's part of the school, but every day there's this big block of time between 11 and 2 where we're both free. I never schedule coaching calls or anything during that time. And we play and we talk. We'll learn a little something, and it's pretty magical. And it's the one thing that I'll miss when COVID's over.
Aw. Okay, Jen, you've got a cute little person. Is she your bonus time as well?
Yes. Oh my God, 1,000%. Yes. Oh my gosh. She is about to be 3.5. She's getting up there. And once they turn 4, you're technically not allowed to call them a toddler. They're like a child, a kid. You know, it's been a struggle for me to be like, oh my God, she's not going to stay this tiny forever. So any moment I have with her is so wonderful. She's learning how to write, and it's the most magical time seeing the world through her eyes. Like, it's so wonderful. And that's one of the biggest blessings I think about being a parent is you get to almost like live all over again, because you're teaching her all sorts of different things. And it's just like, you forget, oh my gosh, how magical is rain and jumping in a puddle? You know, I mean, literally, it really is. Like, she loves it. And I literally get like all her gear on and we do it. So yeah, it's just, you know, surrounding yourself with like, her, she's my top number one, but people that support you, friendship and family, those are so important to me too. That's how I unwind, is connecting with friends, video chatting at the moment, and seeing family when I can. So, yeah.
Nice. Okay, Brian, what do we know you game?
Yes.
Like, that's the fascination. And
I do.
And I forgot to say before, I love that you use Chutes and Ladders as an analogy.
Yes.
Because we don't realize it. It's total life.
Yes. Yes, it's definitely. So my guilty pleasure is cooking. I enjoy like spending hours upon hours watching video of cooking. I subscribe to the Masterclass series, so I get to watch these world-class chefs show their craft. So I enjoy that more than everything. And I have to say that I enjoy anyone who can share their craft over video. So if I see someone who is a master at like sculpture or any sort of thing and they're showing them, even if it's like 3 hours, I can just watch them do their work because I get a joy of that. But my guilty pleasure is always like, it's the visual art. So I can watch Netflix for hours. I don't have any hesitation in subscribing to any streaming channel. If there's a movie on there, classic, modern, 80s action film, it doesn't matter. I will find a way to find joy from it. So whether it's watching, Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger on, in their like action movie prime from the 80s, or watching, Citizen Kane, or, a movie from the 30s, I will find joy from that. So I'm a big consumer of any sort of visual content. I watch, 1970s, 1980s television, even if it's in standard definition and 420p, and it's very difficult to understand the sound, I will still enjoy the experience. And so that's something that I definitely, it's my guilty pleasure and something that I definitely enjoy.
I love that you are a consumer of visual joy. That's just so cool. Okay, what do you like to cook? What's your signature dish?
So I'm kind of like one of those comfort food type of things. So it sounds weird, but like I will never make a chicken pot pie the same way twice. I'll constantly experiment with the spices. I'll experiment with the crust, and it's not like I'm pursuing the perfect chicken pot pie. It's just that I'm curious as to if I make a change or I do something different, how it's going to come out. And so, something like that, or even a very simple dinner like chicken and rice, I'll play around with. It's like methods of cooking. I will try sous vide. I'll try grilling it. I'll try broiling it in the oven. I'll try deep frying it. And those are the things that I do. So, what's my joy? It's hard to really like lock it down, because it's like saying, do I like jazz music more than popular music? It's kind of like I enjoy it all, but I really, for me, there's a curiosity and a fun understanding of like the science behind it, but there's also a little bit of an art form to it. And even if it comes out wrong, I want to walk away saying I learned something, so that the next time I try to tackle it, I'll feel a sense of like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I feel a sense of greater confidence towards whatever I'm trying to accomplish. So I can't say that I'm like a serious cook, because my kids will tell you that always comes out. It doesn't always come out right, but every once in a while, it's like, when you have like a bag of pistachio nuts, every once in a while you'll come across a pistachio nut that just tastes like it was a pistachio nut crafted by God himself. That to me is like, I don't know if I'm ever going to come across a perfect dish, but if I can hit that once every once in a while, it makes the bag, it makes it all worth it. So
Wow, that's a great analogy in there somewhere. So Jonathan, do you cook?
I do cook. I love to cook. Probably 360 days a year. I make breakfast for our family, usually pancakes or waffles for my son and omelet for my wife. I make perhaps the best oatmeal in the history of the world. And I love East, South, and Southeast Asian flavors. That's what I do in the for lunches and dinners.
Nice. That's awesome.
It is awesome. How about you, John?
Oh my gosh, I love jambalaya. So I would say, like, I love spice and I love New Orleans style food, yet I've never been there before. And so I can't wait to go on just a food tour and go to New Orleans and eat as much as I can. That is on my bucket list. But I love the Cajun spice. I love the flavors, red beans and rice, all of that. So jambalaya is my thing. But I also love Italian food too. So I make several different dishes. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, we always have to touch on food because it is food.
Yes.
Am
yes.
I right?
Yeah.
And I always say, as long as I can make it in the Instant Pot or the air fryer, this food is my friend. So.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, I mean,
there's no food appliance that isn't my friend. I will figure out, and I'll spend hours looking for new ways to use that Instant Pot, and I enjoy it. I really do.
I haven't gotten into the Instant Pot yet. I guess I need to.
Oh my goodness. And I'll put the article in when I do the replay, or in the recap, but I wrote an article about using the Instant Pot for productivity, because I love that you could put ingredients in there and then you could get something done, and then you have food. It's like the perfect appliance. So I can not recommend it high enough. I did not love to cook until about, I guess it's almost 4 years now, when I got an Instant Pot, and I'm like, ooh, it is magic. I can put in the ingredients and it comes out a meal, and I am oh so happy. And I'll make anything from in mac and cheese. Apparently you can make it in other appliances, but the Instant Pot makes it super, super easy. I love my pretzel rolls in my air fryer. Chicken soup in the Instant Pot is like a staple, at least, every couple of weeks. You need your Costco chicken soup in the Instant Pot. It's just, what keeps you going.
That sounds amazing.
So if you don't have an Instant Pot yet, we'll talk for 10 minutes and you'll be like, okay, Deb, which one? It'll really, especially, with your little one, it'll be a fun little family adventure that you can put all the ingredients in together and cook together.
Oh, that's a great idea. I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of magical. It's kind of magical. It cuts down cooking time significantly, which always seems to be a challenge. So I can go to the market and buy meat, divide it up into its small portions, and then put it in the freezer. But when it comes time to actually cook something, usually you have 15, 20 minutes before people start getting that hangry attitude. And
Yes.
so the Instapot actually allows you to mix the ingredients, put a couple of cans of something, toss in the meat, seal it, and like 15, 20 minutes, you're stirring up a stew that's absolutely phenomenal. So it's worth the investment. It is, definitely.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking like I'm going to be searching right after this, looking at all of them.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so we're coming on to about an hour, and I so appreciate you all taking the time. So 2 final questions. First, where can people find you? And then I'm gonna go around and get, oh no, we didn't do bonus goals. Okay, 3 things. Bonus goal, where people can find you, and a final thought. And so shall we start with Jonathan?
Sure. So bonus goal, this is a goal that I have or that I wish for our listeners?
A goal you wish for our listeners, watchers, viewers.
Sure. Well, first, getting in touch with me is easy. You can just go to my website, untangled-coaching.com, and go to the contact page. The question that I ask everyone I work with is, what is it in your life that you've learned to accept that you would have never consciously chosen? And are you ready to do anything about it? So that would be my bonus goal for everyone.
Okay.
And what was the last, what was the third thing?
Oh, I don't want the third thing. I don't want the final thought yet.
Ah.
We're just doing contact and bonus goal, and then we'll all lead out with like one pithy thing. Okay, so what in your, I want to put in the chat, what in your life have you
learned to accept that you would have never consciously chosen?
And the goal is to write that down and change it.
And ask, are you ready to do something about it?
Okay, that you have learned to accept.
That you would have never consciously chosen.
Yeah, I can't type that many words. Are you ready to change it? Okay, so the goal from John is really introspection. What in your life have you learned to accept? Are you ready to change it? Good?
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you for letting me edit you. Brian.
So I'm at Southern New Hampshire University at Inkwell Interactive. If you do any sort of web search, you can find my contact information. And if you have an idea for a game, an interactive training application, or if you're looking at trying to understand the gaming industry or any sort of technology whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to me, because I'm always open to having a conversation that may not have a clarity to it. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, just reach out, let's have a conversation. We can figure these things out over a period of time. And it's always really easy to engage and have these types of discussions with me. So that's kind of a thing that I would like to share. And so, yeah, my thing to leave is to say just that. Sometimes it's not always clear, but you have to kind of put it out there in the universe in order to be able to let it form, let it become something. So even if you don't have the actual language or you don't quite understand, start talking about it, write it down, start creating a framework for it, a place to put these things, these ideas, and let it develop into something, and then engage with somebody. Doesn't have to be me or a coach or anything. It could be, a colleague or someone just random, but engage with somebody, because that is how you begin to figure out the language around it.
So your bonus goal for people is to put your ideas out into the universe. Be generous, share them. I'm going to edit your goal just a little bit, just to be careful who you share with. You can share with us, you can share with a piece of paper. Just try not to get too much information overload by it. I love the idea of get out of your head and start spreading it around, because it goes back to done is better than perfect, which is another one of my favorite phrases, to start talking up. It also is law of attraction stuff, right? If you say the things that you want in the world, that you want to create into the world, it is adding another level to getting yourself and your ideas out there.
The patterns aren't always clear, so sometimes you have to kind of have that fog, that unfocused stuff happen in order for you to be able to then start to sharpen it a little bit. So yeah.
I love that. Awesome. Jen, what goal do you want to leave our people with?
My biggest thing is, which I always love this question, and it's kind of common, but is what would you be doing if you could be doing anything right now? If you weren't scared, if you didn't have a certain limitation in place, what would you ultimately want to do? I have so many people that come up to me and they're just like, oh my God, you're a meteorologist. Like, that's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. And like, I still love it. I'm like, then why don't you do it now? You can always go back to school. You can go take classes online. Why aren't you doing it? So my question for everyone is almost do a retrospective of your life and what you're doing right now. And like, think about, when you're like 80 years old in a rocking chair, like, are you going to be happy with where you're going right now? Or, are you sharing your gifts and everything with the world, or will you be unhappy when you're 80? So just take that retrospective now and figure out, okay, what can I do? Because really, you can ultimately do anything you want to. You are the one that's going to limit yourself, nobody else. Yes, we all have different roadblocks that we have to maneuver around, but you really can do anything. So what is that one thing that you want to do that you still haven't done yet? And try and get that done. And the way to connect with me is on Instagram. Message me. I've got some other things in place, so I don't have a direct website right now. But follow me on just Jennifer Weather on Instagram. And so you can watch my stories, geek out with me. I would love to talk to you about goal setting, weather, all those fun things. So yeah, Jennifer Weather on Instagram.
Well, and I love how everybody's thing kind of tied in together. So Jonathan said, okay, the bonus goal is, what have you chosen to accept what have you learned to accept that you never would have accepted, and are you ready to do something about it? Jennifer's saying, what do you want to do that you never did? And Brian's saying, and then put it out in the world. So get rid of stuff, make room for something good, put it out in the world, and you're golden. I mean, I'm all about the goal setting simplified. Boom, boom, boom. 3 steps. and if you do need a little bit more of a push, you can reach out to me at thedebmethod.com. You can also grab a copy of my book, Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals. Link is in the comments to Amazon, but your favorite bookstore will have it as well. You all have been amazing and awesome. I would like you to leave with one final tip, and then I will wrap things up. So, final word of wisdom, a short phrase of motivation and encouragement. Jen, go.
Visualize your day. Visualize how you want your day to go, what you want to accomplish, and feel those feelings at the end of the day where you've actually accomplished everything you want to, and make it happen.
Wonderful. Okay, John, quick phrase, go.
The power of ritual in accomplishing your goals. Very quick story. I used to be in a marriage accountability call with a buddy of mine. Every 2 weeks, we just check in how we wanted to be in our marriages. One year I was in China because of the 12-hour time difference. We couldn't have our meeting. But my wife and I were feeling kind of disconnected. We were staying with our in-laws. I saw it was on my calendar. So I took a walk, came back, we reconnected. We never even had the meeting. But that's the power of ritual.
Okay.
It's on the calendar and it's still the full effect.
Embrace the power of ritual. Awesome. Brian, bring us home.
Play a game. If someone asks you to play a game, say sure. Don't say I don't want to play a board game, or I don't want to play. Just get out there and enjoy it. Do a puzzle, do a jigsaw puzzle, do a crossword puzzle. Enjoy these things. They're to keep our minds strong and for us to have fun. And if you're not having fun, then what's the point, right? Let's have some fun in our lives and keep a smile on our face by playing games.
It's all about that very important F word. Have some fun. If you're not enjoying your life, take a step back and introduce something into it which will enable that joy, that fun, Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining me today for our February Reset Gold Chat Live Party. I'm Debra Eckerling. Again, you can find me at the DEB Method anywhere and on my website. Learn more about my book, yourgoalguidebook.com. And please join me every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. I'm at Twitter for Gold Chat, and I will be back next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. for another Gold Chat Live. Thanks again to my wonderful guests, Jonathan Domsky, Jennifer Watson, Brian Brady, and thank you all for listening. And as you move forward towards your goals, remember, you can do it.
Thanks, Deb.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.